Hello everyone, warm welcome to Chapter 6, that is Anatomy of Flowering Plant, one of the most interesting and colorful chapter. This chapter will be divided in 6 parts. This is part first. The content in this part will include what we mean by tissue, different type of tissue, that is classification of tissues, detail of meristematic tissues, and then we have to see one type of permanent tissue, that is parenchyma. This is part 1, that is Anatomy of Flowering Plant, Chapter 6. This is Chapter 6, Part 1, Anatomy of Flowering Plant. In Part 1, we will discuss, that is regarding tissues and then characteristics of tissues, meristematic tissues, and the classification 1. But before that, you have to see Anatomy of Flowering Plant. Anatomy is the branch which deals with the study of, that is internal structure. In morphology, you have seen study of, that is external feature, that can be studied after cutting sections. Either transverse section will be cut or that is vertical section will be cut to study internal structure. That is, different organs in plant shows great variety of similarities or differences in origin and functions as tissues, and study of, that is internal structure, it reflects how the plant has adapted itself according to the diverse environment. 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼 and 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼, these are regarded as founder of plant anatomy. 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼, he is known as father of plant anatomy, and father of Indian plant anatomy is K.A. Chaudhary. You have to remember this important, that is name of the scientist. This is the section in which we have to study, that is internal structure of the plant part. Then you come tissues. Plants or animals, these are made up of cell. The group of cell definitely will be known as tissues. We have to define tissue is a group of cells having common origin. Important point, they perform, that is similar functions. Structurally they may be similar or dissimilar. Important 4 characteristics. That question came many times. You have to remember the term tissue that was coined by Greve on the basis of cells formed that they are able to divide later on or not. The tissues will be of 2 types. One is meristematic tissue. They have potential of division, which have lost capacity of division, known as permanent tissue. So tissue are of 2 types depending on the constitution of their cells, and that is either they are able to divide or not. Type of tissue, you see the tissue we can divide into that is 2 major categories which can divide. These are known as, that is meristematic tissue, meristematic 1, meristematic tissue which have lost capacity of division. These are known as, that is permanent tissue, right? Permanent tissue, meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue, they may be of different type. That may be, that is apical meristem. Is it apical meristem? That may be, that is intercalary meristem. We have to see intercalary meristem, or that may be, that is lateral meristem. Is it right? Lateral meristem. In the same way, the permanent tissue we can divide into 2 categories which are made up of only one type of cell, will be known as simple permanent tissue. Which are made up of more than one type of cell will be known as, that is complex tissue. Complex tissue. Simple tissue we have to study. You have to see detail of this. One is, that is parenchyma. One is, that one is, yes, this one is collenchyma, and the third one we have, that is sclerenchyma. Is it? And in the same way, complex tissue will be 2. One will be, that is xylem. One will be, that one is phloem. That is meristematic tissue. One more division is there that will be divided. That is, one is, that is primary meristem, primary meristematic tissue, and the other one is, that is secondary meristematic tissue. So dear children, you have to see detail of this now. Come to this first. What we mean by meristematic tissue. Meristem or meristematic tissue is a simple type of tissue composed of, that is group of similar or dissimilar cells. These cells are immature one and they have potential of division to make new cells. Is it right? Characteristics of meristematic tissue. If I am going to make that these are the meristematic cells, these are the meristematic cells. You see these meristematic cells, these are living and immature. These are They may be isodiametric. Isodiametric means from all the sides the diameter will be same. They may be rounded, oval or polygonal in shape. They don't have intercellular space. Here the space is absent. They have that is large nucleus, that is dense cytoplasm they have, and here that is this is the large nucleus, dense cytoplasm. There is no intercellular space. The cell wall is thin and it is made up of only that is cellulose cell wall. Thin, elastic, made up of cellulose. Large nucleus, protoplasm dense. Vacuoles are absent or they are very small. The crystals, these are absent. Protoplastids are present instead of plastids. Rate of respiration is very high, and the reserve food is there. That is little reserve food. That is that you see rate of respiration is high. You have to correct it. And here that is reserve food is little one. Metabolically active cells these are. Surface area volume ratio is high. Nucleocytoplasmic ratio is also high. What we mean by that is this is the nucleus, this is the cytoplasm. If we see that is nucleus and cytoplasmic ratio, size of the nucleus is large. That's why the nucleus cytoplasmic ratio is high. In case of permanent cells, the size of the nucleus will be less as compared to the amount of that is cytoplasm. Is it right? Come to the next now, that is classification of meristematic tissues, that is based on origin and development. One is promeristem, which is present since beginning. It is present in embryo and present in adult plant. They are present in a small region at the apex of shoot and root, and it gives rise to primary meristem. This tissue is present since beginning in embryo. Primary meristem that originate from, that is promeristem. It gives rise to primary permanent tissue. They originate early in life, very important one, contribute to the formation of primary plant body. In most of the monocot and herbaceous plant, that is dicot plants, that is only primary meristem is found. Secondary meristem will be formed little later, that is present. They are present from very beginning but develop at later stage. They give rise to the secondary permanent tissue. For example, you have to study interfascicular cambium or cambium, core cambium present in dicot root and dicot stem. They will give rise to secondary meristem, and secondary meristem that will develop into that is secondary permanent tissues. Right? On the basis of location of that is meristem may be divided. Apical meristem, which is present at the apex. You know that this is the plant body, that here this is the stem apex, this is the root apex, which is present at the apical meristem. It's known as that is apical meristem. It is present since beginning. That's why this is primary meristem, and because of this the length of the stem will increase, length of the root will increase. That is root apical meristem and shoot apical meristem. Intercalary meristem, what we mean by, you see this meristem, when it will go away, it will grow, and apical meristem has reached to this point. Some of the meristematic cells are left behind, and these meristematic cells, they got surrounded from all the sides by permanent tissue, and they remain silent for a while. Only at the time of that is they will start division. That is known as intercalary meristem. Important question. Apical meristem is primary meristem, as well as this is also primary meristem. This is intercalated between permanent tissue, as I told you, commonly found at the base of leaves. That here, this one is the base, that is leaf we have. These are found at the base of the leaves. Above the nodes are also, you see, below the nodes, these are in case of mint, at the base of leaves in pinus. Ultimately, that is formation of permanent tissue. In grasses, intercalary meristem is, this is important question. What happens in grasses? Suppose the browser has it in this stem and this leaf, then how the plant will grow? They are able to regenerate the parts removed by grazing herbivores. That is apical meristem, intercalary meristem, both of these are primary tissue. Come to the next now, that is lateral meristem. This is secondary meristem. This is formed later on. Meristem are formed secondarily from the permanent tissue. You see, permanent tissue has lost capacity of division, but in some cases, permanent tissue that will regain capacity of division, and that will become, that is lateral meristem regain, that is capacity of division. Secondary meristem are usually lateral in position. If we cut a transverse section like this, and this is the cylindrical structure, that is lateral meristem. This shows cylindrical in shape. It divides in radial direction, and because of this lateral meristem, the thickness will increase, resulting in thickness or girth of the stem and root. And you know these are found only in case of, that is dicot stem and dicot root. These are responsible for secondary growth of plant body, interfascicular cambium, core cambium, and wound cambium. We have to discuss this little later. Hence, lateral meristem are secondary meristem on the basis of origin, except intrafascicular cambium. You see, you have to study now that this is vascular bundle, that is in between the xylem and phloem. The cambium is present since beginning. That cambium is known as intrafascicular cambium. This is present since beginning. Because of this also, the lateral growth will be there, increase in thickness. Otherwise, rest of the cambium, that is cambium which is formed here or which is formed, that is in core region, these are secondary in origin. Right? Come to the next. Now you can see the diagram. This one, this is apical meristem. This one is intercalary meristem, and this one is, that is lateral meristem. Is it right? Come to the next now. We have to see now, that is shoot apex organization. Shoot apex, what we mean by that, I told you right now. This is the shoot apex, how the shoot apex is being organized. Shoot apical meristem, that is, it is the tip of the stem and at the branches also. Shoot apex present immediately above the, that is, this is the, these are the young, that is leaf primordia, that it is present here. Formation of the leaves, elongation of the stem. You see, this is the, that is meristem. When it is elongate, a few, that is cells will be left here, and that is in the axis of the leaf, they will become, that is axillary bud. So axillary bud and apical meristem, both of these are primary meristem. In some cases, these buds, they will develop into the branches, like, and in some cases, that is these axillary bud, they may develop into, that is flowers, right? You see here, that is, these are the leaf primordia. This is the shoot apical meristem. It is surrounded by leaf primordia, and here, this is the meristematic zone. The left out, that is apical meristem. This is axillary bud, and these are the differentiating vascular tissues, right? Come to the next now, that is root apical. Much more we have to do in this chapter. You have to concentrate now. Root apical, that apex organization. You know that this is the root here. The root is surrounded by, it is having at the tip, it is having a cap-like structure which is known as, that is root cap. I already told you in morphology also. It is found at the tip of the main root and its branches. Tape root system. The root apical meristem is formed from radical part in adventitious root. How this will be formed? Root important. It is produced from derivatives of the shoot apex. Very important question this is. Root apical meristem is subterminal because it is having the, that is, it is the root cap, and that is root cap is above the, that is the root apical meristem. This is. Root apex is not responsible for the formation of lateral root. You see, in case of stem, the lateral branches will be formed by this, but here in case of root apex, the lateral branches will not be formed. Very, very important question here is, the root branches will develop from, that is inner side, that is, these are endogenous, they develop from the pericycle. Important this is, that is root branches, they do not develop from this, they develop from pericycle. This is the structure we have. This is the root cap NCERT diagram. This is, these are the, that is initials of the root cap. This is initial of cylinder, center cylinder. This one is, this is protoderm. This is the cortex. We have to see it. This is the center cylinder one, and this is the root apical meristem. You have to see this one. Can we proceed to the next now? Okay. Come to the next now. We have to say meristematic tissues we have done now. We have to see now, that is the permanent tissue, which have lost power of division because they have got differentiated. They have to carry out different functions. That's why that is got permanent shape. The cells may be living or dead. Important question. Permanent tissue that may be living or that may be dead one. These are of two types, simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. In chart also I told you. Simple tissues which are made up of one kind of cell. This is simple tissue made up of only one type of cells, permanent cells, simple tissue. Cells are similar in structure. They perform similar functions. And on the other side, the complex tissue is, can you repeat? Can you recall? Complex tissue is made up of different type of tissues which have, that is, dissimilar shapes. See the types of simple tissue now. That is, first we have to say, yes, this one is parenchyma, a type of simple tissue. Most simplest one, parenchyma, simple tissue. Simple tissue, no? That is, they have lost capacity of division. These cells are found almost in all parts of the plant, that is root, stem or leaves, fruit and seed. The cells of these are isodiametric. They may be spherical, oval or polygonal in shape with intercellular space. I can make it like this. That is, these are the cells. That is parenchymatous tissue these are. These parenchymatous cells, these are living one. They have thin, that is cell wall. That is intercellular space is present. These are living one with thin cellulosic cell wall. You know, when the cell is living, the cell wall is thin and made up of cellulose only. The main function of parenchyma is storage of food, that is storage of water in fleshy stem and leaves, as in case of opuntia. You know the opuntia plant is like this. It is cactus one. That is here. That is the parenchymatous tissue that will store the water. Parenchyma. See the more detail of this parenchyma. In some of the cases, when the intercellular space, they have become much more larger, that is known as aerenchyma. You see aerenchyma, you see in case of leaf, that is upper tissue, and this is the lower half. Here the parenchymatous cells are there, and in between these parenchymatous cells, the intercellular space is very large. This is intercellular space, and that's why this is known as aerenchyma. They help in circulation of air as well as they provide buoyancy to the plant which are found in water. That is aerenchyma. Shorter modification of that one is what? That is parenchymatous tissue. Chlorenchyma, you see, chlorenchyma help in photosynthesis. Chlorenchyma means what? Chlorenchyma means that here in parenchymatous cells, when that is the cells, when they have, that is much more chloroplasts are there. These are the chloroplasts. You know the chloroplast is the site of photosynthesis. In green part of the plants, the parenchymatous cells, they have chloroplast and they will help in photosynthesis. That tissue will be known as, that is chlorenchyma. Sometimes, you see, the cell start to divide and help the plant in secondary growth. This is very, very important point. Formation of cork and healing of wound, intrafascicular cambium, cork cambium and cambium found in dicot root. This is very important point. But you see that these are the parenchymatous cells. Large nucleus is there. That is cytoplasm is there. This is the thin, that is cell wall. This one is thin cellulosic. That is cell wall, is it? And this one is, that is, this one is the large nucleus. This is typical, that is parenchymatous cell. You see this point, very important one as I told you. That this point, see, permanent tissue, they have lost capacity of division. Usually they do not divide. But there are some of the examples where this parenchymatous cell, they will regain capacity of division. They will start division. They will become, that is meristematic one. They will become meristematic. They will start division. Important. Parenchymatous cells, when they will start division, usually they do not divide. But when they will start division, known as meristematic, they will become meristematic one. Some of the examples we have, and that will happen at the time of, that is secondary growth. You know, children, secondary growth we have to study in detail, but here reference will be given. Secondary growth is found in case of that is dicot stem and that is dicot root, secondary growth. What is there? Interfascicular cambium. You have to study. You see, in case of dicot stem, if you see, that is, these are the vascular bundle. Is it? These are the vascular bundles like this. That is the cambium present here in between primary phloem and primary xylem. This is present since beginning. This is primary meristem. You remember? That is known as, what is this? It is called intrafascicular cambium. But the cells here, these are the permanent cells. This is permanent tissue. This permanent tissue will become meristematic one. And now that they will make a cambium in between these vascular bundles, and this cambium will be known as, it will be called as interfascicular cambium. So interfascicular cambium, fascicular cambium, that will be formed from permanent tissue, interfascicular cambium. Same thing happens about cork cambium. You see, this is that is endodermis, that this is we have here, that is here, the tissue present outside the vascular tissue, that here, that some of the permanent tissue, they will become meristematic one, and they will make this cork cambium. Detail of this we have to see in time to come, within no time. In next part we have to see here. This is cork cambium. So cork cambium is also formed from, that is, permanent tissue. Permanent tissue will become meristematic one. The same thing almost happens in case of, that is, root. Is it right? So you see, children, that is, we have seen today, that is, we can repeat, that is, from the beginning. We have to go little fast. That is, we have defined here, that is, what we mean by anatomy, internal structure. We have to study internal structure by cutting section, transverse section on, that is vertical section. Transverse section, this is the long axis of the plant. When a thin slice will be cut like this, that is known as transverse section. Vertical section, that is, in case of leaf, we have to study anatomy by cutting vertical sections. Okay, then all these things, father of plant anatomy you can remember, and a study of anatomy that helps us to study adaptation to diverse environment. Right? Come to the next now. Tissue, I told you. Important question is, tissue is a group of cells. Okay? Group of cells, common origin, perform common function. The structure may be similar or dissimilar one. That is dissimilar cells will be found in case of, that is, complex tissue. Complex tissue, that is, dissimilar cells. Two type of tissue, meristematic and permanent one. And come to the next now type of tissues. I told you, meristematic tissue which are able to divide, apical meristem, that is root apical meristem, and it is shoot apical meristem. 1, 2 intercalary meristem, third one is lateral meristem. On other side, that is, this is one, that is criteria. The second criterion may be, that is, tissue meristematic may be primary or it may be the secondary one. Permanent tissue, that may be simple, that may be complex. That is, one is parenchyma, one is collenchyma, one is, that is sclerenchyma, and complex tissue, one is xylem, one is phloem. You have to remember all this now. Meristematic tissue characteristics, I told you that these are living and, that is, immature one. These are having no intercellular space, usually are absent. The thin cellulosic cell wall is there. Protoplasm is dense, you know, that is, crystals are absent, and the plastids are in the form of protoplastid. The rate of respiration is high. The reserve food is less. Metabolically, they are very active. That is, area of surface area volume ratio, high nucleocytoplasmic ratio. That is a meristematic cell. In a meristematic cell, this is the large nucleus and cytoplasm is less. Therefore, ratio of the nucleus and cytoplasm, this is more, this is less. That's the ratio is high. Is it right? Okay. The same way I told you, no need to go repeat of this. That I told you already. Lateral meristem I told you. Secondary meristem, this one is shoot apex organization. That is root apex organization. This is subterminal one. because the root apex is having this root cap. Then I told you about that is permanent tissue. Characteristics of this, usually they do not divide, but at the time of need some of the tissue can divide. That is 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼, 𝕆𝕋𝔍𝔼, and this is important point I discussed. This is part 1. Thank you.